Tervetuloa seuraamaan Maailmankuvia-sarjaa. Tänään meillä on hyvin erityinen herrasmies Yhdysvalloista. Hän on J.D. Messinger. Tämä seuraava keskustelu tullaan käymään englanniksi. Hello, J.D.
Hi.
Reason that we called you here because you are lecturing in Finland in Kuvattu Ultrapäivillä, and you have write very good book about the spiritual and giving answers to people all over the world, and it has been also sell very nicely and so on. But in the first place, we would like to know that how you became to this spiritual path of yours and how everything starts.
Yeah, well, it was a very strange and painful experience. It wasn't something that I was anticipating or did intentionally. I was the chief executive officer of a company called Ernst & Young Management Consulting in Asia. And so I was in my early 40s, and I had spent 11 years in the Navy as a nuclear engineer, and I was a math major, and I was an energy consultant. And so up until this point, I had spent about 25 years in energy, as in oil, gas, nuclear. And now I was the CEO of a large management consulting company. And what happened was I injured my neck. And the injury was from 1985. In 1985, I was a submarine officer, and we were refueling the reactor in dry dock. So the submarine is out of the water, it's 90 feet up in the air, it's cut to pieces, and we're pulling the nuclear reactor apart, and I was the officer in charge. This is 1985. And a crane came, and it swung a load, and I saw this crane coming out of the corner of my eye, but I only had a moment to respond. And I looked down and I saw that if I stepped this way, I'd fall 90 feet. And I couldn't go that way, and I turned and I look up and the crane hit me. So that snapped my neck back and it damaged my vertebrae. So over the next 20 years, my vertebrae started to deteriorate. So here I am, 25 years later, or 15 years later, in 2000. And my neck is deteriorating, and I'm the CEO of a company. I'm advising Prime Minister of Singapore, the Ministry of Defense and generals. I'm leading the ExxonMobil merger. I'm doing outsourcing projects, and I'm in a lot of pain. And so I take pain pills, and I pretty much ignore the pain. So on the morning of January 18th of 2000, I put my arms up in the air to take a stretch, and that was the last thing that popped my neck. And so it twisted my spinal column around, and I flew out of my body. The next thing I know is I'm floating above my body about 8 or 10 feet in the air. And I watch my wife come in and screaming, and she tries to catch my body as my body falls down to the ground. And I'm up above it, looking at it. And there's no body. There's no, I don't have a body. It's not like I have hands. Mm-hmm. I'm just a spirit, and I'm observing what's happening, watching like a play before me. Mm-hmm. And then I get sucked into a tunnel, and I fly through this tunnel, and it's like, if you're familiar with the Star Trek movies, it goes into warp drive. Yeah. Or in the Star Wars movie, Rey goes through a tunnel. Well, I'm going through a tunnel, and it's a blue and white, like sparklers and fireworks, and the tunnel goes this way and this way and this way and this way, and there's just like a presence, and I'm flying through this tunnel. And I'm not creative enough to make this up, okay? And I can see all of this like it was yesterday, moments ago. So after I fly through the tunnel, I come out of the tunnel, and I go into space, like a spaceship. Mm-hmm. and I see this beautiful, like, glowing white light thing, and I go to that light, and then I see triangles like this, and the triangles, they're like locks, like a door lock, and I go through one and it opens, and then the next one and the next one. So it's like I'm going through a gateway or a vault into a safe or something, and the lights are all the most beautiful colors you've ever seen, purple and blue and orange and yellow. I mean, it was like vibrating and pulsating. And after I go through this gateway, then there's just light, and that's it.
Did you have any feel of time or something?
Oh yeah, no pain, no fear, no time. Now I was only gone for moments in Earth time, and they rushed my body to the hospital, and they do a double surgery. They take bone out of my hip to put my neck back together, so they operate here and here at the same time. And so then I have tubes in me everywhere. You know, I can't walk, I can't talk. I have no feeling in my face or down my nerves, my arms, my legs, because my nerves had gotten cut or twisted. And it takes probably 6 months before I get nerve feeling again. And it's about 30 days before I can start walking. So I'm in recovery. I leave the hospital. You know, they take all the tubes out of me. They take off the morphine drip. And I go back to a makeshift hospital room in my bedroom in my house. And I'm basically in the room alone, and I'm all immobilized, and all I can do is stare at the plaster in the ceiling. And it's very emotional, you know. I want to get back to work, you know. I'm not supposed to be here. This wasn't supposed to happen to me. And I'm in a moment of anger in my mind. I scream at God, you know, why did you do this to me? And in less than 1 minute, the door jiggles, and my 3-year-old son comes in, and he goes, Daddy, you work too hard. And then he leaves. And then the next day I said a silent prayer to God. Oh, I work too hard. Oh, what am I supposed to do, God? You know? And in 1 minute, the door handle jiggles, and my 3-year-old son comes in again, and he goes, Daddy, you need to play. And so I being a left-brain math science guy, I start to calculate what was the chance of this happening. How many questions did I have, too? What's the chance of my boy coming in the office or bedroom without, you know, hearing anything in any random 1 minute, which of course is 1 in 24. How many statements does a 3-year-old have, and how could they answer my question? I calculate the probability that this was 1 in a million. So then I'm thinking, is God answering my prayers through my son? And so I try it again and say, okay, God, I work too hard and I need to play. Well, what am I supposed to do? And all door handle jiggles, 3-year-old comes in, and he's dancing around the room on his toes, and he's going, remember, 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 remember. Well, I'll tell you, I thought about that and researched that for 5 years. Remember what? Remember, remember. Well, what I concluded, remember who you are. Remember where you came from. Remember why you're here. So I started to, 6 months later, I walk and talk and I recover and I go back to work, but I'm a different person. I'm having visions of events that happen in the future.
How they come to you?
They come to me like a movie.
Yeah.
I see them like a movie.
Not in the dream, just when you're
awake.
No.
Awake state, yeah. So the first vision I had was, and I can still see everything. I have a photographic memory. I don't ever remember these things. I don't ever forget these things. So I can still see this. This was, 18 years ago, 19 years ago. And I saw this funeral. And the funeral was like a glass hearse. And there was people holding the dragon because it was in Asia, Singapore. And the body and the glass body. And it was right between two buildings. So I saw that vision, and then about 3 days later, I'm walking to go to lunch, and I go around the corner, and there it was, exactly like I saw it. And so, a lot of people, like, how can you have a vision of something that happens in the future? Like, how does that happen? Right? Well, the answer is because time is an illusion. Time is a man-made construct.
Yes.
Time is not, I don't know how to explain it, but all of reality, let me put it to you this way, time on Earth is different than time on the moon, is different than time on Jupiter. I like to jokingly say, God doesn't have a watch. Okay, and this is important to understand because let's take the Bible, for example, and people say the world's created in 7 days. Well, what's a day? What's a day in the eyes of God? Is that 24 hours? Well, it couldn't be 24 hours because the earth didn't exist and there was no sun. You see, we define the day as, 24 hours is the rotation,
Indeed.
right? But if there was no planet and there was no sun, what's a day? So when we say the world was created in 7 earth days, well, that's ridiculous. Maybe if 7 God days, 7 God days could be 7 billion years. God doesn't have a watch. And if God was on Jupiter, even though Jupiter didn't exist, a day in Jupiter is, I think, 364 Earth days. You see the point I'm trying to make? Time is it's a totally man-made construct. God doesn't have a watch. Now, so I had visions of inventions, and I invented a game. I saw this game. Now, this was in a dream, and this game was running through a printing press for 7 nights. It's going ka-chunk, 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 and I couldn't sleep. And so I screamed in my sleep, "Will you stop?" And the printing press stops. And I wake up and I see the game. And so I made the game. That was a very successful game. I probably made $500,000 from that game, from a vision. And then I had other visions. I invented a television show, the world's first reality entrepreneur TV show, before Apprentice. So I also, sometimes I heard voices, sometimes I spoke languages and I didn't even know what I was speaking. The words that are on the cover of the book in America, I don't think it's on this cover here, but I was speaking Greek and I didn't even know what language I was speaking. So those things that all happened in the first year, 2000, 2001. By 2003, I thought I was going crazy. I saw an angel just float down in front of me, this androgynous being. And it was like strong and muscular like a man, but had beautiful flowing black hair like a woman, and beautiful, like sort of an effeminate looking face. So this angel was like half male, half female. That's why I say androgynous. And just like, smiled at me and talked to me. So you asked the question, what got me started? That's what got me started.
Well, you didn't have any kind of spiritual background from your parents or something like this. It was a totally new thing when this all happens.
Yeah. Everything I speak of and talk about is not because I studied anything or read anything. All of my knowledge and speeches and talking is all personal experience.
So what do you think, what are those visions, where they are coming from, how they come to you?
Well, okay, so our brain, which is inside our skull, is the most powerful supercomputer in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, it is processing 38 trillion transactions. Now, I think maybe trillion in Finnish is different. That's 38 with 9 zeros, okay? It's 10 million times more powerful than a MacBook Pro computer. That's how powerful your brain is. Now, that brain is sending 100 trillion impulses to 100 trillion cells.
Yes.
Those cells hold more than 100 million books each. You and I are a walking, living, breathing encyclopedia of all this knowledge and experience. So now, that brain is nothing but electrical impulses. And your brain, there's no hard drive in here. There's no storage device. It's just 60,000 miles of tubes with water in them. And those tubes have these electrical impulses like lightning go. So what is this? What's making me speak? What's making me talk? Where am I getting ideas? What is knowledge? How come I can remember math? What is going on? So let's start at the very big part. The very big thing is all there is in the universe is energy, information, and matter. Now, matter is solid matter.
Yes.
But 98% or 99% of the universe is not solid matter. Okay? So now, a sentient being can process the information, and so you're processing the energy and the information in the energy, and as a sentient being, you can turn that into knowledge, and you can manipulate matter. This is a scientific fact. Einstein knew over 100 years ago that human beings have the ability to manipulate matter. I'm not saying anything that is not an absolute scientific fact. The reason we put a superconducting super collider underground in cement with steel is to prevent the thoughts of the scientists from influencing the outcome. Did you know that? Did you know our thoughts affect protons and electrons? We've known that. So when we think about things, the things we think about change. When I think about you, you can feel my thoughts. You can hear my thoughts. You can read my thoughts, because this supercomputer is up 10 million times more powerful than your mobile phone. Can your mobile phone take a message and turn it into music?
Maybe.
Yes, it can. Your mobile phone, doesn't it play music?
Well, sure.
Does your mobile phone, can it receive pictures?
Every phone.
Documents.
Sure.
So all those pictures, documents, movies, they're flying around us right now. 500 billion of them right here. And your little MacBook Pro computer or your little phone can pick up that image and play it. Play a video, play a song. This is 10 million times more powerful.
Yes.
If your phone can do it, this can do it. So, how does that work? Well, that works because some people have figured out how to basically tap into that information. Now, this is all invisible. Spirituality is spirit-uality. In other words, spirit, quality. If you take the word spirit and you take the word quality, put them together, you have spirit-uality. So what is a spirit quality? Confidence, courage, inspiration, creativity. We use these words every day. You see?
Yeah, I see.
A spirit is nothing but something that is an unseen, invisible force. It's all energy. That's all it is. That's all everything is. Einstein proved that mass is energy.
Indeed. Well, so when you had this experience, you flew out from your body, you found yourself as a spiritual entity, as energy.
Yeah.
And well, is it so then that this little spirit is actually using this body for expressing itself?
Yeah. So there's no question, no question, scientifically, philosophically, analytically, that my body is emitting photons. We now know that from the Harvard and Stanford and many other laboratories. We also know that energy or light, which is I call photons, that Yoda in Star Wars was right, we're a light being. We also know that light carries information. And we also know that various people have the ability to understand and process that information. And we also know that every person can basically has the sensory abilities, various ways to hear, see, feel, know, or pick up that information. So now the question becomes, okay, I'm an energy being. This is the essence of spirituality. Just like my computer has diodes and resistors and transistors, so does your body and my body have something that must regulate the information.
Yes.
We call those chakras. So we have 7 major energy processing or central command centers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these are like the guts in your computer regulating the information. And if those are broken, they don't work right, so you get sick or diseased. So we do yoga and meditation or have healing hands or people work on us to help regulate our energy computers. And the better regulating and working they are, the more powerful and easy it is for you to work, the healthier you are. So now the big question, because everything I just said, there's no theory behind that. That is all fact. So, but the big question, which is a theory, is, okay, so if I'm a spirit being, do I have a soul or am I a soul? In other words, if I have a soul, do I only live once and then I die? Or do I have a soul and a spirit and I live many lives? That's the big question.
So answer might be this what your son said when he was
Remember who you are.
Yes.
Remember where you came from. Remember why you're here. So now I have to say that this is a theory, but I believe this theory because what I believe is that I am a soul, that I am an eternal being, I am a light being, I came from the light, I still am in light, even though I'm in physical form, I'm still in the world of light. And when I die, my soul leaves my body and goes into the light again. But I am reborn over and over and over again. So I believe in many lives.
What you're thinking about consciousness, is it the quality of soul or?
Well, there's many different states of consciousness, okay?
Yeah.
So what do we mean by that? Well, simply put, we mean that we're aware.
Yes.
Well, what are we aware of? Well, you know, in a simple term, we can become aware of science, we can become aware of physics, we can become aware of other languages and cultures, you know, things like that. Then some people think that, well, there's two states, we're either asleep or awake.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of silly, okay? Because the mind is always working. It's not like when you go to bed, your brain stops working. We actually know that our brain has different brainwave patterns. And when you're asleep, your body's asleep, but your mind is still processing. And in fact, your mind is not aware of the physical body. So this state where the body is asleep but the mind is awake, which you might call a dream state,
Yes.
or a trance state, is a very powerful state of consciousness, because that's when you can tap into the field of energy. That's where you can tap into dreams. That's where you can tap into inventions and inspirations and ideas. So there are many states of consciousness. Another state which you might call hypnosis. Well, we all hypnotize ourselves. What is hypnosis? Have you ever driven home and you got home and you don't know how you got home because you were thinking?
I have.
Yeah, you hypnotized yourself. Everybody's done that. Have you ever been looking for your car keys and you're looking for your keys? Where are my keys? Where are my keys? And someone says, they're in your hand. You know, that's hypnosis. So self-hypnosis or hypnosis is, again, a different state of consciousness.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so now to your question. What are we trying to become conscious of? Well, the first thing is to really become conscious of oneself. Who am I? Where did I come from? What do I believe? As opposed to what my teacher said, or what the history book said, or what the school said, or what society says. You know, everybody has an idea on what they want you to believe, what they want you to buy,
Yes.
who they want you to vote for, you know, where they want you to travel. And so we are influenced by these people through radio and television and email all the time. And so the first thing we have to learn to do is to become conscious of our own self. What do I believe? What do I want? You know, so that's the beginning of the work. Now, the next stage of the work that we have to go through is, after we've become aware of who we are sort of physically and what we believe physically, then the next stage of the work is called the great work. And that is becoming aware that I actually am more than my physical body, that I have this energy stuff, you know, that I have spirit qualities. I have confidence, courage, and faith. I can be compassionate, generous, forgiving. You know, these are qualities that are invisible qualities.
They are.
And that I have powers. I have invisible powers. I can invent, I can see, I can hear, I can know. So the great work is the next level, and it's harder. It may take 10 or 20 years to realize that you are a spiritual being. Now, after you've gone through that, which the vast majority of people, maybe 70 or 80%, don't get that far. But the next level of those that have gotten through the great work, who experience and understand their spiritual nature, their invisible gifts and power, the next level is the supreme work. The supreme work is the recognition that I am a spiritual being in a physical body, and that I'm a part of a universe that has nothing but energy, information, and matter, and that there's always sort of a giving and a receiving of information, that everything is pure energy, that the essence of life is living, and we learn through pain and suffering. You know, so what I'm talking about is the supreme work is sort of like the universal laws of the world of light, the universal laws of energy.
Yes. Have you learned identify yourself as a spiritual being, or do you still see yourself as a vagabond?
Well, I am both.
Yes.
I mean, I am a spiritual being, but I have a physical body. Yeah.
But when you feel yourself, what do you feel? Do you feel your body, or do you feel something from inside of you, what you are as an energy being?
Well, that's a good question. That's a very good question. And of course, sitting here in a chair, you know, I'm feeling my legs, I'm feeling sitting in the chair. You can feel the physical nature of our body, but you can also train yourself to feel the other information.
Yes.
So there's lots of different ways and modalities to learn how to tap into that energy. For example, some people are empaths, meaning they feel other people's feelings.
Yes.
Some people are visionary. They receive visions, you know, flashes, like videos. So we all have these natural abilities. We don't all have all of them, but we all have at least one of them. And one of them is stronger than the other.
When you got those visions, are we talking about intuition which brings those?
Intuition? No, I don't. I separate intuition from visions.
Okay.
To me, intuition is like you have a non-rational sense that something is going to happen. Okay? So intuition is one of the strongest invisible gifts we all have.
Yeah.
One time I was getting ready to go from Texas to New York, and as I was leaving the house, I stopped and I thought, I'm forgetting something. You know how when we all have that, you're leaving the house and you think, oh, am I forgetting something? So I thought, I'm forgetting something. And I thought about everything I packed, and I thought, no, I have everything. So I was like, what do I need? A Band-Aid. I said, what do I need? And I thought, a Band-Aid. Well, I've never taken a Band-Aid on a trip, but I turned around, I went into the bathroom, I got a Band-Aid, and I left. And I flew to New York, I got off the plane, and I went to the luggage rack and picked up my bag, and my finger scraped a piece of metal sticking out, and it sliced my finger, and I needed the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
How does that happen? You know? I mean, it was 6 hours later. How that's intuition, right? You just have a sense or a feeling. That's an amazing experience, and that's sort of an example of how time's an illusion. How could my brain know that I would need a Band-Aid 7 hours before an event happens? But yet that happens all the time. All the time that happens. Because there's a law. Everything is connected. All the thoughts, all the experiences, all the memory, everything is connected. If you're sitting here thinking about your Aunt Mary, and Aunt Mary hasn't called you in 10 years, and you're thinking, geez, I wish Aunt Mary would call, and all of a sudden, Aunt Mary calls you. You sent that thought to her, she received the thought, and called you. So, okay, so back to how is a vision the same thing as an intuition? No, to me, an intuition is like I just described. It's like a feeling.
Yeah.
A vision is I literally have a vision of it. I might see the picture or I see it as a video. So that's what I mean by vision.
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla, who invented the alternating current motor, he had the vision of this motor in his mind for 10 years. He had no idea what it was. He kept drawing this thing for 10 years that was in his head until he finally figured out what it was.
But this thing, where it comes, where this vision comes, what is not in the real world.
That is the best question. Where does the information come from? What is the source of that information? That's the question that I searched to answer for 10 years. What is the source of the information? Isn't that the question? That is the question.
The question.
And it is not from my mind, because how could I have a vision in my mind of creating something that didn't exist?
Yes.
Is it coming from the collective consciousness? No, because if it's a world first innovation, no one else has that vision either.
Indeed.
So the thing that to me is the most exciting aspect of this is that there is a source of information beyond our bodies, beyond our collective consciousness, that is a sentient being. What's that?
That's the big question. Is it our own supreme being, or is it the source, what we call as a God, or is it something else?
Well, I think there are layers, okay? So since I believe that we're a spiritual being, and when we leave our bodies, our spirit goes into a dimension, then there is certainly a dimension of all of the souls. So I think of the first dimension as my conscious mind. We're talking realms of energy. Okay, because we already know the mind, there's no hard drive, there's no compartments, you know, it's just a ball of water with 60,000 miles of tubing. That's all it is. But in there's a conscious mind. You and I are conscious of this conversation. There's also a subconscious mind. There's an unconscious mind, like the motherboard. Now let's go outside of your mind into all of our minds. There's a collective consciousness. And that's of the collective awareness of all of these humans. But now there's another realm beyond that, which I think of as the spiritual realm. That's where we go when a soul passes, you know, when we die. But then there's got to be another realm of maybe the older, wiser souls. And then there's another realm, you know, and eventually, to me, we get to the realm of the divine or God or the creator, you know. And, you know, I call that source.
How many realms you have there?
Well, you know, physics science will tell you that we know there are at least 10 dimensions. That is, they consider that a fact. That there's 10 dimensions of information. It's beyond our ability to comprehend what something even looks like in a 10th dimension, you know. So
very interesting. Let's go to your latest book.
Okay.
Is this your latest
Yes,
book?
it is. 11 Days in May.
Well, 11 Days in May, the conversation that will change your life. So, what is telling about?
So, this book, I'm the author, but I didn't really write it. I just was a scribe. I took notes.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. The words appeared before me. And I wrote, it's a terrible title, 11 Days in May, because no one knows what that means. But it's a wonderful title in that it was about the first 11 days in May of 2012. I saw these words appear before me, and I wrote what they said. And I wrote as fast as I could, and I wrote for 11 days. And so the parables, there's 36 questions or short stories. I call them parables. And they ask 36 questions. Who am I? What is time? What is love? What is war? What is matter? Those weren't like my ideas. I just wrote those questions and And it's like I had a conversation between me and an invisible being, and the fingers just went. And when I was done, my wife said, "What have you been doing?" And I said, "I think I wrote a book." And she said, "What's it about?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't read it yet." And that's the honest to God truth. I had no idea what I wrote.
Yeah.
And it went on to win, it hit #1 in like 5 categories in less than a week. Science, religion, self-help, things like that. It won 5 awards, golden awards, 1 silver award. And so it originally did not have the subtitle, A Conversation That Will Change Your Life. It was just called 11 Days in May. But I received over 100,000 emails and many calls, and I've spoken with thousands of people, and they said this book changed their life. So we added the subtitle, The Conversation That Will Change Your Life.
Mm-hmm. So when you're having a conversation, this your associate whom you have.
Yeah, my associate and I.
So is it like the source, or is it your own supreme being, or whom you have a conversation?
Well, this is a what's that when you call I'm sharing a secret that reveals something in the book. So if someone wants to be a reader and find out from themselves, they shouldn't listen to this part of the interview. Yeah, yeah. What is a spoiler? That's what we call them, spoiler. Okay. So, but the book is basically, it's a conversation between my mind and my soul.
Yeah.
So my mind is having an argument with my soul, and my soul is trying to tell me, "Hey, wake up! You know, you're a powerful being. You're here with a mission, and you have a purpose, and you have gifts." And the mind is filled with fear and blame and shame and guilt, and the mind is filled with a bunch of faulty, limited, outdated beliefs called programs, and you know, society has instilled all of these beliefs in us, and they're these labels like Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, Muslim, Islam, Jew, Hindu, Buddhist, Taoist, male, female, gay, straight, short, tall, black, white. They're all interesting, and they're all useful, but they're all incomplete. And so basically, you know, the book talks about what is love and what is war, and what is death and what is matter and what is science and what is religion in a conversation. And sometimes my mind and my soul are joking, and sometimes they're fighting.
Well, this is very interesting book, and I have started to read it, but it's still on a process. In the end, would you like to give some greetings or message to our Finnish audience who will watch this?
Sure. What I'd like to say is that you don't have to think of spirituality like some la-la woo-woo thing. That what we need is business executives to understand that spirituality is simply spirit qualities, that we need business leaders and executives to be more mindful, that if you want to make more money, you want to be more profitable, you want to be more productive, that's all spirituality. You want people to be more creative or innovative, then you can teach them the skills and abilities to be mindful, to overcome limiting thoughts and beliefs. And hopefully in the process, as these executives, we need these executives to wake up, because we're a part of this planet and we're destroying this planet. You know, we are the air, the water, and the minerals. They're not dead. You know, if I'm alive, the air, the water, the minerals in me is alive. And we communicate to the animals, and we're a part of this planet, and this planet is alive. And this planet is fighting us right now because we're poisoning our planet. We're poisoning our water. We're poisoning our bodies. So in effect, we're killing ourselves. Who's going to change this? It's not going to be the government. It's not the churches. Who's going to change this is the business executives. And there's money to be made in doing this. Okay, so that's the message I would like to communicate, that you too can become a spiritual, awake business executive and help improve your health, your life, our bodies, and our planet.
Thank you, JD. I was privileged to meet you and have this conversation.
Well, thanks for the conversation. I love it. Good job.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
It was.